Imagine this, my friend. You're walking through life, thinking you've got it all figured out. You're a man who's put in the work. Maybe you hit the gym, maybe you've got a decent job, maybe you've even read a few books on how to carry yourself. You're feeling pretty solid, right? But then, out of nowhere, you catch a vibe. A woman in your life, could be your girlfriend, your wife, or even just someone you're trying to impress. She gives you that look. Not the one that says, "Wow, this guy's got it together." No, it's subtler than that. It's a flicker in her eyes, a slight shift in her tone, a quiet judgment that you can't quite put your finger on. And deep down, you wonder, does she see something in me I don't even see myself? Welcome to STOIC Venture, where we're peeling back the layers of what it means to live with strength, purpose, and unshakable resolve. Today we're diving into something most men don't even realize is happening right under their noses. We're talking about the 5 ways women can spot weakness in you. Weakness you might not even know you're showing. And trust me, this isn't about blame or shame. This is about waking up, taking control, and stepping into the kind of man you were meant to be, guided by the timeless wisdoms of Stoicism. Because here's the truth. Women don't just see what you show them, they feel what you don't even say. Now, before we get into this, let me paint you a picture. Think about a guy named Marcus. Marcus is a decent dude, mid-30s, works in sales, keeps himself in shape, likes to think he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's been dating this woman, let's call her Elena, for about 6 months. Things are going fine, or so he thinks. But lately, Elena's been pulling back. She's not as quick to text him back, not as excited to see him. Marcus doesn't get it. He's doing all the right things, taking her out, complimenting her, being the nice guy. But what Marcus doesn't realize is that Elena's not responding to what he's doing. She's picking up on what he's not doing, or worse, what he's accidentally revealing. And that, my friends, is where the cracks start to show. See, Stoicism teaches us that real strength isn't about flexing your muscles or shouting your worth from the rooftops. It's about mastering yourself, your emotions, your actions, your mind. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But here's the kicker. If you don't realize where you're slipping, you're handing that power away without even knowing it. And women? They've got a 6th sense for this stuff. They can smell weakness like a wolf smells fear. Not because they're out to get you, but because they're wired to notice what's real and what's not. So today, on STOIC Venture, we're going deep. We're breaking down these 5 subtle, sneaky ways women see weakness in men. Things most guys don't even clock until it's too late. And we're not just pointing them out. We're arming you with stoic tools to flip the script, to turn those cracks into steel. Because this isn't about pleasing anyone else. It's about becoming the kind of man who commands respect, not just from others, but from himself. Let's start with the first one. And trust me, this one's a silent killer. It's something Marcus was doing without even realizing it, and it's probably something you've done too. Picture this. Marcus is out with Elena at a restaurant. The waiter messes up his order, brings him a burger when he asked for chicken. Marcus doesn't say a word. He just shrugs, forces a smile, and eats the burger anyway. Elena notices. She doesn't say anything, but she notices. Later that night, they're talking, and she brings up some issue she's having at work. Marcus listens, nods, and says, "Yeah, that sucks, but what can you do?" He thinks he's being chill, supportive even. But Elena's quiet. She's testing him, and he doesn't even know it. What's the weakness here? It's not about the burger. It's not about him being nice. It's about him avoiding conflict like it's the plague. Women see this, and they don't just see a guy who's laid back. They see a man who's afraid to stand up, who'd rather bend than break, who's so scared of rocking the boat that he'll let the world walk all over him. And here's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics didn't run from hardship. They faced it head on. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When you dodge conflict, you're not being peaceful, you're being weak. You're telling her, "I don't have the spine to handle this. Now let's stretch this out a bit." Think about Marcus again. This isn't just a one-off. It's a pattern. A few weeks earlier, his buddy borrowed $50 and never paid him back. Marcus didn't bring it up, didn't want to make it awkward. At work, his boss dumped extra hours on him, and he just took it, no pushback. He's proud of being easygoing. But what he doesn't see is that every time he swallows his voice, he's chipping away at his own strength. Elena's not thinking, "Oh, he's so sweet." She's thinking, "Can this guy handle life? Can he protect me? Can he stand for anything?" And that's the gut punch most men don't see coming. But it's not just about her. This is about you. On STOIC Venture, we're not here to chase approval. We're here to build a life of virtue and power. So how do you fix this? You don't turn into some loudmouth jerk who argues over every little thing. No, you channel the Stoic way. You pick your battles, but when it matters, you stand firm. Imagine Marcus looking that waiter in the eye and saying, calmly, "Hey, I ordered the chicken. Let's get this right." Not aggressive, not whining, just clear. Or imagine him telling Elena, "That situation at work sounds rough. Here's what I'd do. Confront it, calmly but directly. You've got this." Suddenly he's not just a guy who drifts through life. He's a man with a backbone. Let's linger here for a moment, because this one's worth unpacking. Conflict avoidance isn't just about the big moments. It's in the small stuff, too. It's when you let your buddy cancel plans last minute for the third time and say nothing. It's when you agree to something you don't want to do, just to keep the peace. It's when you laugh off an insult instead of calling it out. Over time, that builds a picture, not just to her, but to yourself. You start believing you're the guy who doesn't matter, who doesn't count. And that, my friend, is a weakness women can feel from a mile away. So here's the Stoic challenge. Next time you feel that urge to shrink, to let it slide, pause. Ask yourself, what would Marcus Aurelius do? He wouldn't rage or sulk. He'd act with reason and courage. He'd say what needs to be said, not out of ego, but out of principle. And when you start doing that, something shifts. She sees it. You feel it. The world starts treating you differently. That's the power of STOIC Venture. Not just talk, but transformation. Now let's shift gears and talk about something that sneaks up on you like a shadow you didn't even know you cast. Picture this. Marcus, our guy from earlier, is back at it. He's sitting on the couch with Elena one evening, scrolling through his phone. She's telling him about her day, some coworker drama, a deadline she's stressed about, and Marcus is half listening. He nods, throws out a "yeah, that's wild," but his eyes are glued to some random meme about cats in space. Elena keeps talking, but her voice gets quieter. Her energy dips. Marcus doesn't notice. He thinks he's there for her, but he's not. And that, my friends, is the second way women spot weakness in men, when you're not truly present. Welcome back to STOIC Venture, where we're peeling back the layers of what it means to live with strength and purpose. This one's tricky because most guys don't even realize they're doing it. You might think, I'm here, aren't I? I'm listening. But being in the room isn't the same as being in the moment. Women feel this disconnect like a cold draft. They don't just want your body on the couch. They want your mind, your attention, your soul locked in. And when you're checked out, drifting off into your phone or your own head, they don't see a man who's grounded. They see someone who's weak because he can't even master the art of showing up. Let's rewind a bit with Marcus. This isn't the first time he's done this. Last week they were out for coffee, and Elena was excited about a project she's working on. She's mid-sentence, eyes lighting up, and Marcus cuts in with, "Oh, that reminds me. I saw this hilarious video earlier. Hold on, let me find it." He fumbles with his phone, scrolls for a minute, shows her some clip of a guy falling off a skateboard. Elena smiles politely, but the spark's gone. She doesn't care about the video. She wanted him to care about her. And Marcus, he's oblivious, thinking he's keeping things light. But what he's really doing is showing her he's not strong enough to hold space for what matters. Here's where Stoicism steps in like a lifeline. The Stoics were obsessed with focus, living in the now, not letting your mind scatter like leaves in the wind. Epictetus, one of the toughest Stoic teachers, said, "You become what you give your attention to. If you don't choose, someone else will." Think about that. If you're letting your phone, your distractions, your wandering thoughts dictate where your energy goes, you're not in control. You're weak, not because you're lazy, but because you've surrendered your power to be present. And women, they clock this faster than you can blink. Let's stretch this out with a story. Imagine a guy named Alex, not Marcus this time, but someone new. Alex is in his late 20s, works construction, tough exterior, thinks he's got life dialed in. He's been seeing this woman, Sarah, for a couple months. One night they're at her place cooking dinner together. Sarah's chopping vegetables, talking about how her dad's been sick lately, how it's weighing on her. Alex is stirring something on the stove, but his mind's elsewhere, thinking about a fight he had with his brother earlier, wondering if he locked his truck, replaying a podcast he heard on the way over. He grunts a few uh-huhs, but Sarah stops chopping. She looks at him, waits. He doesn't notice the silence. Finally, she says, "You're not even here, are you?" Alex laughs it off, says, "What?" "I'm right here, babe." But she's not buying it. She puts the knife down, walks away. Dinner's ruined, and Alex is left wondering what just happened. What happened, Alex, is that you showed her your weakness. You didn't mean to, but you did. You couldn't lock in, couldn't give her the one thing she needed more than your words, your presence. And this isn't just about romantic stuff. Think about it in your own life. How many times have you been with a friend, a coworker, your mom even, and you're there, but not there? On STOIC Venture, we're not just talking about fixing this for her. We're talking about fixing it for you. Because a man who can't focus, who can't be where his feet are, is a man who's lost in the chaos of his own mind. So let's unpack this with some Stoic grit. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who faced wars and plagues without blinking, wrote in his Meditations, "Confine yourself to the present." That's not just poetry. It's a battle cry. Imagine if Marcus, the real one, not our burger-eating friend, were sitting with Elena. He wouldn't be scrolling. He'd put the phone down, look her in the eye, and listen, like her words were the only thing in the universe. Not because he's trying to impress her, but because he's mastered himself. He's not a slave to distraction. He's a man who owns his attention. Now let's linger here, because this one's deep. Think about your own day. How often do you drift? You're at work, but you're daydreaming about the weekend. You're with your buddies, but you're checking scores on your phone. You're with her, but you're replaying some argument in your head. Every time you do that, you're leaking strength. Women see it, sure. But more importantly, you feel it. You start to wonder why life feels so scattered, why you can't get traction. It's because you're not here. You're everywhere else. Let's bring it back to Alex for a second. After that dinner flop, Sarah didn't dump him, not yet. But she started pulling away. She stopped sharing the big stuff, stopped leaning on him. And Alex, bless his heart, didn't connect the dots. He thought she was just moody. But what she saw was a guy who couldn't handle the weight of the moment. She didn't need him to fix her dad's illness. She needed him to be a rock, to stand with her in the storm. And he couldn't, because he was too busy drifting. So how do you flip this? It's not about faking it or putting on some intense stare. It's about training yourself, Stoic style. Start small. Next time you're with someone, anyone, put the phone away. Not on the table, not in your pocket, out of reach. Look at them. Listen like it's a mission. If your mind wanders, catch it, drag it back. It's hard at first. Your brain's a wild horse. But that's the point. Strength isn't easy. It's forged. On STOIC Venture, we don't just tell you what's wrong. We show you how to build what's right. Imagine Marcus trying this with Elena. Next time she's venting about work, he sets his phone face down, leans in, says, "Tell me more." He doesn't interrupt with his own story, doesn't check out. He's there. And suddenly, Elena's not just talking, she's opening up. She feels seen, not because he's a superhero, but because he's present. That's the Stoic edge, mastering the moment, one breath at a time. All right, let's step back into the fray, because this next one's a gut punch. Most men don't see coming until it's already landed. Picture Marcus again, our everyman who's trying to figure this all out. He's at a party with Elena, mingling with some friends. The vibe's good. Music's playing, drinks are flowing, laughter's bouncing around. Then some guy, let's call him Jake, starts talking to Elena. Jake's loud, confident, cracking jokes, and Elena's laughing, really laughing, not just the polite kind. Marcus watches from the corner, sipping his beer, and something twists in his chest. He doesn't say anything, doesn't move closer. He just stands there, smiling like it's fine, but inside, he's spiraling. Why is she so into this guy? Am I not enough? And that, my friends, is the third way women spot weakness. When you let insecurity eat you alive. Welcome back to STOIC Venture, where we're cutting through the noise to build a life of strength and clarity. This one's a silent killer, because it doesn't announce itself with a big red flag. It's not like you're yelling or crying or making a scene. No, it's quieter than that. It's the way your shoulders slump just a little, the way your eyes dart, the way you shrink without even moving. Women don't need a neon sign to see it. They feel it. They sense when you're rattled. when you're comparing yourself, when you're letting someone else's shadow make you feel small. And when they do, they don't see a man who's unshakable. They see a guy who's fragile, even if he's hiding it behind a grin. Let's rewind this scene with Marcus and dig deeper. Jake's not a bad dude. He's just outgoing, maybe a little flirty, but nothing crazy. Elena's not cheating or plotting to leave. She's just enjoying the moment. But Marcus, his mind's a battlefield. He's thinking, this guy's taller than me. He's funnier. She's probably bored of me already. He doesn't storm over and start a fight. That's not his style. Instead, he retreats into himself. He makes some excuse about needing another drink, drifts to the kitchen and spends the next 20 minutes pretending to check his phone. Elena notices, not right away, but later, when they're driving home. She's quieter. She doesn't say it out loud, but she's clocked that shift. She's wondering why he didn't join in, why he let Jake's presence throw him off his game. Here's where Stoicism comes in like a steady hand on your shoulder. The Stoics didn't mess around with self-doubt. They crushed it under the weight of reason. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Read that again. Marcus isn't suffering because Elena's laughing with Jake. He's suffering because of the story he's telling himself. He's weak, not because Jake's better, but because he's handed his peace of mind to a ghost in his head. And women, they've got a radar for that. They can tell when you're steady and when you're shaken, even if you don't say a word. Let's stretch this out with another story. Meet Ryan. Ryan's a 32-year-old graphic designer, married to Mia for 3 years. They're at a friend's wedding, and Mia's on the dance floor with some old college buddy, laughing and spinning around. Ryan's at the table, picking at his food, watching them. He's not the jealous type, or so he tells himself, but his brain's running wild. She looks so happy out there. Does she wish I was more like that guy? I'm not even good at dancing. He doesn't make a scene, doesn't drag her off the floor. He just sits there, stewing. Later, Mia comes back, all smiles, and says, "You should have joined us." Ryan forces a laugh, says, "Nah, I'm good." But she feels the edge in his voice. She doesn't push it, but something shifts. Over time, she stops asking him to dance. She stops expecting him to step up. Why? Because she's seen the weakness. He's not secure enough to let her shine without feeling dimmed. On STOIC Venture, we're not here to beat you up over this. We're here to build you up. Insecurity's human. We all feel it sometimes. The difference is what you do with it. The Stoics didn't pretend it didn't exist. They faced it, dissected it, and turned it into fuel. Marcus Aurelius, sitting in his tent on the battlefield, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not just philosophy. That's a blueprint. Your insecurity isn't a flaw to hide. It's a signal to grow. But if you let it fester, if you let it pull you into that quiet, sulky corner, you're not just losing her respect. You're losing your own. Let's linger on Marcus at that party. Imagine if he'd handled it differently. Picture him feeling that twinge when Jake makes Elena laugh. But instead of shrinking, he takes a breath. He remembers something Epictetus said. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Jake's charisma, Elena's laughter, that's out of his control. What is in his control? Himself. So he walks over, not to compete, not to puff his chest out, but to join the vibe. He cracks a joke of his own, asks Jake a question, pulls Elena into a quick dance. Suddenly he's not the guy on the sidelines. He's the man in the mix, steady as a rock. Elena doesn't just see it, she feels it. That's strength. Now think about your own life. When's the last time you felt that sting? Maybe it was a coworker getting praise while you sat quiet. Maybe it was her talking about some ex who used to do this cool thing. Maybe it was a stranger turning heads while you felt invisible. It's not about them, it's about you. On STOIC Venture, we don't chase validation from the world. We forge it from within. Insecurity's a thief, but you don't have to let it rob you. You catch it, you name it, you own it. That's the Stoic way. Let's circle back to Ryan for a moment. After that wedding, he could have let it slide, let the distance grow. But imagine he didn't. Imagine he woke up the next day, looked at Mia, and said, "Hey, I froze up last night. I didn't like seeing you dance with that guy. Not because of you, but because of me. I'm working on it." No groveling, no drama, just honesty. Then he signs up for a dance class, not to impress her, but to face himself. Mia doesn't just respect that, she's drawn to it. Why? Because a man who confronts his weakness isn't weak, he's invincible. So here's your Stoic challenge. Next time that shadow creeps in, don't run from it. Stand still. Ask, what's this really about? What can I control? Then act. Not out of panic, not out of pride, but out of principle. On STOIC Venture, we're not building perfect men. We're building real ones, forged in the fire of self-mastery.